everyone, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Lydia O'Meara. I'm a nutritionist and a PhD candidate with the Natural Resources Institute. Today, I will be providing an overview of my PhD, which is exploring food environments and the nutritional adequacy of women's diets in rural Uganda. I would like to first acknowledge my supervisors, Kate Wellard, Paula Dominguez-Salas, and Elaine Ferguson. By way of background, we understand that eating a diverse, high-quality diet is important for nutrition and health for everyone in the population. However, it is estimated that at least 2/3 of women worldwide have at least one, possibly more, micronutrient deficiencies. We understand that food environments are the interface where consumers procure their food from the wider food environment. However, and this became apparent during the mobility restrictions of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is difficult to remotely collect data or monitor diets in food environments during crisis situations. And this could also include conflict zones or bad weather events. For my PhD, I will be addressing these known literature gaps. So little is known about the nutritional adequacy of women's diets in Eastern Africa, especially during pregnancy and lactation. To improve women's health, we know that we need to have a better understanding of which food environment factors influence their nutrient intake so that we can better target interventions. We also have a lack of validated remote diet data collection methods for use with hard-to-reach, low-educated, low-literate rural women. And these are the populations that also have low access to technology. So my research questions are as follows. Firstly, what are the characteristics of the food environment that influence food acquisition practices and diets of women of reproductive age in low and middle income countries? Secondly, digging a bit deeper, what is the nutritional adequacy of women's diets in rural Uganda and Kenya by physiological status? But more importantly, what are the culturally acceptable, affordable local foods that could be leveraged to close their micronutrient gaps? Also, what is the contribution of different food sources? That is, their food that they get from home production, from the wild, from informal markets. What does these contribute to their nutritional adequacy? Also, what is the validity of collecting remote list-based diet diversity data using mobile phones and tools that are used by the demographic and health surveys? And lastly, what are the food environment drivers that are associated with this remotely collected diet diversity data and their nutritional adequacy? By way of methods, the study areas that I'm looking at are low and middle income countries with a close focus on rural northern and eastern Uganda and western Kenya. My target population is women of reproductive age and their physiological status during pregnancy, lactation, and preconception. So this PhD is drawing strongly on primary data collection that I just finished completing my 8 months in the field in Uganda in 2022. So these primary data I collected here in the north in Patch and Kwania districts, bordering the River Nile and north of Lake Kwania. So the data we've just finished collecting includes anthropometrics, weighed food records, quantitative surveys, consumer food source data, the remotely collected dietary diversity data using interactive voice recordings on mobile phones, and market surveys. Because of a lot of COVID delays and because we weren't able to get into the field for 2 years, my PhD is also drawing on secondary data And this is using the systematic review and the quantitative diet data that already exists for Eastern Uganda and Western Kenya, and food price data from the World Food Programme. To dig a little bit deeper, I will be answering research question 1 using a systematic scoping review. This protocol is available online, and we are in the middle of data extraction with preliminary results that will be available mid this year. Questions 2 and 3 will be answered using intake modelling assessment planning program, which I've used to determine the percentage of women at risk of nutritional adequacy for 11 micronutrients. I then have used linear programming analysis with OptiFood software to determine relevant food-based recommendations. And also this will be used to explore their contribution from their food sources to their nutritional adequacy. Some of these preliminary results are available and have been presented recently at an international conference of nutrition late last year. So for the last 2 questions, these will be answered with the new data from Northern Uganda. The first one is the validation study, which will use Bland-Altman plots to validate the dietary diversity data that was collected using the interactive voice recordings. This will, because we've modeled this on the tool that's used by the USAID demographic and health surveys, this will then be a validated tool that can be scalable at population level, or has the potential to be. And question 5 will be answered using linear regression analysis, which will be exploring associations between food environment drivers and mean probability of adequacy and remotely collected diet diversity scores. So one of these drivers, unique drivers I will be exploring, is proximity to fisheries. So do those women who live close to the River Nile and Lake Kwania, do they have a difference in their nutrient intake compared to those women who live further away? So in conclusion, my PhD will be contributing these novel contributions to the literature. Firstly, I will be providing a global food environment conceptual framework for urban and rural women in low and middle income countries, which can be used to identify research gaps and refine research focuses moving forward. We'll be providing more evidence on the nutritional adequacy and, more importantly, culturally acceptable food-based recommendations for women by physiological status, that is at the pregnancy lactation level for these women in rural Eastern Africa. We'll also be highlighting the relative importance of different food sources to the nutritional adequacy of these women. And this can help target policies to help in maintain those sources of nutrient-rich foods, and also identify areas that we can help to improve that access. Lastly, I will be providing a validated remote diet data collection tool that aligns with the demographic and health survey tool that has potential for scalability to help reach these hard-to-reach rural women during what is anticipated to be more pandemics, epidemics, conflict areas, and bad weather events. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or comments via my email or on Twitter. Thank you so much.